What you don't know can hurt you, and what you do know can set you free. That's why we interview subject matter experts for your small to medium-sized business and personal finances, because knowledge is power, but experience is everything. Welcome to The Tipping Point. The Tipping Point is brought to you in part by Tirani and Velez LLP, your tax and accounting subject matter experts. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Gabriel Velez. Our guest today is Dr. Dena Amato, owner of Mobile Chiropractor, the first chiropractic office on wheels in California. Mobile Chiropractor offers businesses ergonomic assessments as well as on-site chiropractic treatment and massage therapy. Hey, Dr. Dena, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm having a little bit of deja vu today.
I know. Take two.
I feel like, okay. So thanks for being on. Today we're talking about workplace wellness, overall health in the workplace, and really, really important topic because employees, it plays into employee satisfaction, productivity, and
the list goes on.
And the list goes on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's start off by defining ergonomics. What is ergonomics?
Simply stated, ergonomics is just fitting the worker, right, to the job, right? Fitting the job to the worker to lessen any chance of injury. So making sure all systems and all performance is being, top notch. So easily state it, looking at posture properly as you sit up nice and tall, like everyone does when I mention the word posture, posture police. So making sure the monitors are at eye level, making sure the arms are basically at 90 degrees, same thing with the legs, everything at basically a nice equilibrium and position. And we have some really great digital tools and assessment protocols that we can utilize to go into an office and take pictures so people can actively see what they look like and what injuries may be caused and what can be prevented from just simple changes. Yeah.
So I think the profile, right? Actually looking at somebody from profile is very, very telling. And you can never, as the subject, actually know what you're looking like. Right.
Yeah. It's common if I just do a posture analysis of someone when they're just standing and I'm, showing them what they look like. Then I look at that right shoulder that's really hiked up high. Maybe there's a scoliotic curvature that's doing that, or maybe it's just overuse injuries, which we'll dive into in a little bit. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I looked like that. And then every picture they see of themselves, that's all they see. So sometimes it's just knowledge is power, first and foremost. It's good to get a visual, and that really helps to kind of create a change and a shift.
I got it. So starting with like an office space, you're talking about having monitors at eye level so that your head isn't actually like
flexing forward. Right. Yeah. That's imperative. Because you don't want to, we get into the car, we're driving, we get home, we're cooking, we're cleaning, we're, Audrey, your baby, you're picking her up. You're doing everything so forward and rounded in front of us.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that, pecs stretched, loosened up, everything at eye level. The neck isn't so flexed forward. And that's just because you're thinking of all the muscles that are tightening and whatnot. But those muscles, all the muscles are supplied, all the energy into that area is from nerves. So we want to talk about the nerve function that's happening from the spine itself.
Yeah.
So we just kind of go over all of the list of, what's happening in each region of your body and how it's correlated to the spine and proper positioning.
Yeah. It's funny that you talk about my daughter, right? My daughter is about 16 months old at this point. And when my daughter came home, I started experiencing a lot of, let's call
aches and pains.
Injuries.
Yeah.
Shoulder.
Right.
I thought I had thrown my lower back out. It happens to be that my glutes were just weak.
Right.
And I think it, having a sedentary job at home and at the office, where like a lot of times if I'm working long hours, maybe my shoulders are rolling forward. I'm not in good posture. Just
exacerbating, right? But lucky for you, you have a job where you can have, monitors upright. You're not yes, you get into that kind of lazy mode or that desk jockey position and you're working late hours, tax season. You're just really rounded and forward.
Yeah.
I have patients that are jewelry makers, and ergonomically, that's really hard to change. If they're looking at making a watch, it's a tiny little face that they're focusing on. And that's really challenging. So fortunately, most jobs you can, improve in the position and the quality of your work. But it's people get into this position and they just don't even realize that they're doing it. That's kind of where I come in. Even setting a timer, if you don't have a budget for a stand-up desk for your company, making sure you're implementing, okay, let's do some health talks. Let's do some, educational lunch and learns and seminars, and why posture is so essential, why stretching is so essential. How can you get fit while you sit? Certain things of that sort.
Yeah.
And just setting a timer to get up throughout the day, making sure you're hydrating and you're moving, right? Like I said, we're not hunters and gatherers anymore. So we're not looking upright as much as we should be. So.
Got it. Are you a proponent of things like stand-up desks for office workers?
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of times I find the productivity increases when they're doing a stand-up desk. And then it's nice to kind of do a little bit of both. If they have maybe some low back tension and the surface of the floor is really firm, that can create, little plantar issues, little feet issues, and low back problems. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of just gauging, that person. Everyone is a little bit different in their body. So there's no kind of cookie cutter model, but I am definitely an advocate of movement or exercise balls. If you are sitting, having a big exercise ball, and there's different size, small, medium, or large, depending on your body type and your height.
Yeah.
That's good to kind of create motion in the low back and the hips because we're connected. There's that large muscle group called the quadratus lumborum that attaches from the base of your rib cage, the upper lumbar spine. It goes right into your hip. So if you're mobilizing that hip and, you're using that circumduction and moving the pelvis, that even helps create mobility and motion in the low back. Most times people are just like stiff and achy because they are not moving properly, or they're overusing certain muscle groups.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're overusing your hip flexors from sitting down a lot, right? And so your glutes are a little bit weak.
You're kind of like in an impinged position.
Right. Fixated.
Fixated.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Terrible for the capsule.
Exactly. Right. You know what you're talking about.
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So what are common workplace injuries that you encounter or that you help with?
So common workplace injuries are a lot of times neck strains, which cause headaches. Mm-hmm. Then you talk about like kind of the extremity issues, maybe a little bit tennis elbow, carpal tunnel, impingement of the median nerve.
Yeah.
It could be from poor positioning of the wrist, but also just immobility of the neck. A lot of times people forget that the neck, all the nerves in the neck go down into the shoulders, into the forearms, into the fingers.
Yeah.
So as a chiropractor, I'm looking at the source of the problem. I'm going to obviously look at the wrist, adjust the elbow, everything else, but let's look at the whole kinetic chain. Mm-hmm. I had a patient I'm on site for a large company in Manhattan Beach. So I'm lucky enough to see them quarterly, even a little bit more of that with massage therapists. And this poor woman had adhesive capsulitis. She wasn't able to move her shoulder. So she goes to a medical office and they want to give her a cortisone shot. And, that's just obviously putting a Band-Aid over the problem. So I'm adjusting her whole rib cage, her whole spine, the neck, the whole kinetic chain, and doing some deep tissue work with a technique called gua sha. So I'm basically stripping scar tissue and connective tissue and really kind of breaking that in. And she has health insurance.
Yeah.
She knows what chiropractic is, has never gone because she was terrified of the popping, right? The cavitation, right? The adjustment itself, didn't know that there's other modalities. And if it wasn't for her company supplying this, benefit to her, she never would have known. So now she can dress by, on her own. She can put her hair up. She can wash her hair. And that was just after one visit. So
yeah, your business model in particular is kind of unique in that you can service. I mean, I think you're talking about a pretty large company where they have a good HR budget and you can actually do Onsite.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
You bring the table, you bring the RV.
The RV itself.
Right?
Yep. And I bring massage therapists as well. So we can have however many people need to be, treated and looked at. Mm-hmm. And then it's consistent, right? So there's companies that may only have a budget for like a an employee appreciation day or a health fair, which is great. But just like health, it's never a once and done treatment. So I always encourage, okay, even if the budget's small, we can subsidize and you can pay X amount and then the employer or employee will pay the rest. At least there's consistent care, because I love sitting down with people and talking about let's just get you out of pain. Let's improve your function. Let's talk about your short-term and long-term goals. And it could be even nutrition related. So a lot of these HR companies love those incentive-driven games, right? Whether there's weight loss, there may be a wellness coordinator on site. Those are great companies to be involved with. But I love the smaller companies though that I can help anyone. Doesn't matter large or small. Yeah.
How much does lifestyle? So are like workplace injuries? Is the workplace exacerbating like a lifestyle problem, or is a lifestyle problems exacerbating workplace?
It's a little bit of both. A lot of times people don't realize, number one stress when I chat with my patients is like, where do you spend the most time? At work. Well, what is the most stressful environment that you're in at work? It's always kind of at work. Yeah. And some people don't know how to unplug and not take work home with them. So then that's that emotional conflict. And then they have, with their everyday life. But in terms of physical, a lot of it's like the chicken or the egg type of thing. Yes, there could be workplace wellness injuries that are maybe just from bending, from more the physical job, but a lot of desk jockey jobs, it's overuse. That's the number one cause of injury is overexertion, overuse. We're looking down a lot, and the number one reason for people to take time off of work is headaches, neck pain, upper respiratory problems, colds, all of that. And that's all related to the upper spine, so the neck area. And then you have the low back. That's the number two reason for lost time of work is low back injuries. And that's because it's so prevalent. Over 84% of people will experience low back pain once in their life. And it's because we're sitting so much, right? Or we're not strengthening. We're not going to the gym. We're not doing yoga. We're not doing, all the things that we should be doing. We're not picking up the kids as we should, or even the airplane. It's not kind of ergonomically safe the way we're sitting, or the crib, putting your baby into the crib. That's a really low drop, right? And if your core isn't strong enough, then it's going to be creating more vulnerability in the low back. So all of these things, which I try to address, but it's a team effort for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
What are you doing outside of the office? Exercise, diet.
Yeah. A lot of times when people talk about, weight loss, that happens in the kitchen. Yeah. A lot of people say, well, my genes are like this, or, this is just kind of my family history and this is how my mom was. And, that's very little percentage of actually illness and disease that happens in the US, right? It's what we're doing, epigenetics. It's what we're placing on our genes. It's what's, nurture versus nature, right? So it's basically what's going on and what are we doing in our lifestyle that's affecting us.
Do you want to talk about diet at all, or is that?
It's totally, there's a lot of fads, right?
There's a lot of fad diets.
Yes. I think everyone is different, right? There's no cookie cutter model, and I think it's great that people are really into the paleo lifestyle. They're really into the keto lifestyle. That's a huge thing, low carbs, right? But carbs aren't always the worst thing for us, right? Especially if we're high active, right? If we're doing a lot of athlons and marathons, we're doing all this high exertion, our body needs fuel, and we get a lot of our fuel through carbohydrates. But there are good and bad, right? Simple versus complex, which we don't have to dive into. My overall rule of thumb is, don't take everything out of your diet. Don't be miserable. Have those cheat days that really kind of keep you going. But don't overdo it. It's all about balance. So, low sugar, even a slice of bread has a ton of grams of sugar, right? So just making sure you're eating healthy, eating balanced, a lot of veggies, good protein, and then less inflammatory foods, right? All the sugars, beans, all of that. So more paleo proponent.
Just personally more. Promote it.
But I've tried it all. I've done a raw food diet. When I was in chiropractic college, my rule of thumb as a provider is I will try things so I can educate my patient to tell them, okay, this is a common detox that you're going through, right, you will get through it. You know, but there are some amazing diets that are just pertinent to your blood type, right? So it's everything is so different and, you know, and variable to the person.
I think that's the key. I think experimenting and focusing on the result,
right,
versus like, you know, being stuck in a particular like mindset or with a particular group.
Right.
So are you gaining weight? Are you gaining a lot of fat?
What time are you eating, or how much are you sleeping? Right. There's more and more studies out now showing, you know, obviously sugar and inflammation and all of that we have so many studies revolving around of nutrition, right? But now it's showing a lot more sleep studies we're budgeting and putting into our system, which is great. So we can see the benefits of sleep, you know, and dementia and all this stuff linked to what's going on, just kind of shutting down your system, you know, and that's really imperative. So all things kind of related to health. But I'm not a fan of yo-yo diets. I'm not a fan of like super restricted calorie diets, because your body is then just starving and it's messing up your metabolism. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So what if we break down like the body into different systems, you're saying that most of the problems are happening actually in the neck, and then you see a lot of problems in the hips.
Yeah, definitely.
Lower back.
Yeah, it's the way we're sitting, the way we're walking. If there's even any structural abnormalities, if you have a scoliotic curvature that you didn't know about it as a young age, and scoliosis is idiopathic, right? We don't know why it happens, but there's an adolescent and a genetic predisposition that can just be kind of an array, and kind of the first thing that happens: whiplash injuries, traumas, concussions, all these things that can happen at such a young age. And that's one thing I talk about with my patients when we go over their intake is like, tell me about your first trauma. And a lot of times that's kind of hard for people to think back on, but it could be falling off the monkey bars. You know, it could be the soccer game and a whiplash, or, you know, all these little things can really play a toll. But when we're talking about, you know, boosting energy, right? The adjustment itself, it's a creative and a beautiful art where we're mobilizing a specific joint, and that's to restore motion, right? And that's to kind of spark energy into the nerve flow, the tissues, and better function throughout the whole body. Yeah. So when we're talking about the neck and sinus issues, that's something that we really want to focus on. But the whole body, I mean, if you're sitting here now and you just bring your head far forward, you know, it's really hard to move your head left or right when the neck is that far forward, right? And think of a bowling ball analogy. You pick up a bowling ball, you know, maybe 15 pounds, comparable weight to your head. It's not too heavy when it's close to you, but the further you carry it away from your body, that longer the lever arm, the heavier it becomes. So a lot of stress and strain placed on that bowling ball. Well, think about that as your head, right? A lot of stress and strain placed on the neck, on the muscles, on the nerves, and that's correlated to the central nervous system and the spine. Yeah. So it's just making sure everything is in alignment.
That that each of the discs are stacked
properly. Yep, biomechanically. Yep. So if we can limit biomechanical stress, you know, and segmentally, so each vertebrae, but globally looking at your posture, that's imperative. And it's a lot of times people don't know. You know, when I was back in grade school, I went to a Christian school, and I remember proper etiquette. I remember them making sure you're sitting upright. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen as much anymore. But my dad was a chiropractor, so he would always drill that into us too. So, I mean, obviously, I grew up in a little bit of a different lifestyle, but I talk to my patients that have kids, I adjust kids, and I make sure that they're bringing, you know, technology to them, right? If you're sitting down and they're on their iPhone, they have pillows propped underneath them. So they're not doing this, but they're doing kind of more at eye level on eyesight. Right. And the same thing with doing homework, not laying on your bed doing homework, right? You're looking down. That's not a lot of blood flow to your brain, right? So you want to make sure they're sitting at the dining room table, or if they're on the couch, making sure the pillows are propped underneath them. And there's just so many cool pieces of equipment now that are really lightweight. Amazon, you can get them really cheap, and they just basically can hold papers or books right in front of you. Yeah. That was my lifeline in chiropractic college, because that just hours on end of studying.
Yeah.
It just really helped. So you have to practice what you preach,
Of course.
Yeah.
So outside of the workplace wellness, what inspires you as an entrepreneur? Or what, you talked a little bit about your dad being.
Yeah. I definitely, I always knew that I was going to be somewhat in medicine. I wasn't really sure. I was, youngest of 6. Mm-hmm. So a little bit of a rebel in that way. Of my brother and my sister were chiropractors. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to go that path. Unfortunately, my dad lost his fight to cancer when he was 60. And that kind of really obviously hit home in a different level. I was a junior in school studying to, get my biology degree. And I quit school. I came back to live with my mom to help get her on her feet and just be there, emotionally to support her and just to be with the family. And going through the loss of him, I made me realize like how many people's lives he affected, and I worked for him when I was like 15, 16. That was one of my first jobs.
Yeah.
I worked as a front desk. And so I saw like the benefits of chiropractic and first, hands-on, but really to hear those stories was like, oh man, like I need to pass on this legacy. And he told me at a really young age that I had healing hands. And I was just like, all right, Dad, you probably tell everyone that, but I think he was right because I connect with people and I love what I do. So it inspires me to help people. Aside from, obviously I've created this model of practice where I can go work on a larger group of people, or maybe not even just work on them, but educate, doing lunch and learns. And unfortunately, only 10% of our population, if that, it's roughly like 9%, seek chiropractic and seek help. We're always kind of like the last resort. Oh, I had a shot. It didn't do anything. Oh, I'm on this much medication. It's not, I'm just numbing the problem. It's just masking the symptom, right? It's putting a sticker over the check engine light. So a lot of times people come to us as a last resort. If I'm going to a company and I'm talking about, okay, what chiropractic is and what it can help, and the employer is actually giving them the benefit and we're able to do some hands-on health, it's that I think it's a win-win. So I'm able to have a platform of people that I can educate. So that's what I love about doing workplace wellness, because I feel like I'm hitting a bigger audience. And then, if I'm not there monthly or weekly as I would like to be, I'll see them at their house or I'll suggest a chiropractor that's local to them so they can at least get the whole benefit. So definitely want to help create the movement of just being more holistic. And through that is, proper education.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So as a business owner,
how
does this hit my bottom line?
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, directly and indirectly. I mean, I'll tell you personally.
Yeah.
One of the keys to running a successful business are the employees.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like a pillar of having a successful business.
Right.
You deal with a lot of you deal with companies of all different sizes, some of them which are really large.
Right.
But the large ones have instilled kind of a work-life balance type of mentality, right? Or lifestyle. Some more like lifestyle
brands. Right. Exactly. More so performance brands.
Yeah,
I have a variety of accounts, and it's from large to small. And it's really, I believe that, connecting the mind and body through proper nutrition, right? Proper movement, through chiropractic, through a better well-being, that's going to improve job satisfaction, employee improvement, employee health. It creates a better morale. It decreases absenteeism. It increases presenteeism, right? So it boosts the energy. Mm-hmm. The adjustment itself, releases endorphins, which are natural painkillers of our body, and it reduces cortisol, which is a stress hormone.
Yeah.
So all these studies show having an on-site chiropractor in-house will drastically decrease turnover rate and improve, production. So, but like you said, it depends on the budget of the company and what they think and if they see the benefit of that. So a lot of times I work on a business, a CEO or anyone that's a decision maker of the company. We talk about what do you have in place, or what is the environment? What is the culture? Yeah. That is at your office. Is it higher energy? Is it low energy? Do people enjoy coming to work? How are you as a leader? What are you promoting? Because I think healthy employees form, the foundation of successful companies. So it's, not a one size fits all model, but as long as they can give them that appreciation. And I mean, every time I work on site for a company, the owner of the company will come out and just thank me wholeheartedly. You made me feel like a hero today. You made me look like a rock star. That's always the takeaway, So who doesn't want that,
Yeah.
Right.
So employee. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what else? What else do you want to talk about today?
What else do we want to talk about today? What else do we
treadmills
have?
under the desk?
I mean, that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I know there's some culturally savvy companies that have like beer and wine on tap, and as cool as that may be, I've seen the the issues that
I'm thinking during tax season, I'm gonna do cold brew.
I was gonna say let's talk about how you implement as a leader here in your firm.
Tax season is infamously grueling.
Right.
So, and it's not as bad here as it is at some of the larger firms, because larger firms, they've known to, have their staff grind out 80-hour weeks, 90-hour weeks. A typical week for us is more in the 70-hour range as we're approaching deadlines. And one of the first talks that I have with the staff, like I said earlier, was about hydration, about taking care of yourself, staying on your workout routine. And, it comes from personal experience, like being worn down by the number of hours, maybe putting on extra pounds during tax season.
Right.
And so that's, how I try and focus on taking care of the employees,
right?
Taking care of them as a person before I ask them to, basically go to battle for me.
For sure.
So
yeah, no, totally.
And
a lot of people think about like, okay, how do I feel appreciated, right? In my job, right? And it's not just monetarily, right? It could just be doing something, bringing in coffee, bringing in a lunch, or bringing in an on-site chiropractor and massage therapy. It could be doing just kind of like a lunch and learn. It could just stuff like that can really help and give like a different being and different work perk, and just changes the energy of a room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think as a team effort too, this is a nice group of employees that you have, and you want to make sure that their energy is high if they're going to battle for you, right? So you got to fuel them, fuel them well. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
On-site catering. Actually, in the past, we've also had, masseuse come out.
Yeah.
Good. Provide that, release some stress. But catering versus, in years past, we used to just, throw whatever you want, or order something.
Totally.
Order something.
Right.
And what ends up happening, they, order something nasty.
Yeah.
That gets delivered, by DoorDash.
Of course.
So
of course.
Now we're doing catering, more balanced meals, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, the big word now that's circulating within the HR world is the employee experience.
Yeah.
And we're finding that more and more people in 2019 and into 2020 are actually leaving 6-figure salaries to have more of a work-life balance, where they can work from home, where they can just be at their desk, but not actively engaged in the workplace, so they have more of that luxury of, especially if they have a newborn at home and you want to be involved more, or you have a puppy, right? You need to spend some time at home.
Yeah.
So it's just creating the different type of, employee culture, I think.
There's an overall culture shift, I think. And it has to do with just how readily available information is.
Right.
And, whereas you used to be able to just pay somebody to take it, that people don't want to take it anymore.
Right.
More people are going independent. More people are going to smaller firms.
Exactly.
And
I foresee on the flip side, larger companies having more wellness on site, having more of a medical in-house, like the larger companies, especially in the Palo Alto area, Silicon Valley. So companies of that sort have all the providers that they need right there.
Yeah.
Which I kind of foresee happening more and more. But at least outsourcing and finding the perfect fit for your company, whether it be big or small, whether you have the budget to do it, yearly, quarterly, monthly, whatever it looks like, or you can at least give them a wellness kind of budget or kind of, like, okay, well, I'm going to put $30 towards, your gym membership a month, which some employers are doing. Stuff like that, I think will go a long way because it's creating a different, we work really hard, especially to live in this beautiful state that we live in. So I think it's, creating a positive environment and being a good leader, right?
Yeah, please. It's a good way to express what your values are as a company.
Right. Yeah.
Actively doing that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was great having you. So how do people find you?
Social media platforms. Yeah, I'm on Instagram.
Handles,
Mobile Chiro Care. Pretty simple. Instagram. Yep. People always kind of find me through, I get a lot of DMs on Instagram through people driving by. So obviously I'm advertising and marketing on the road all the time. RV. So and I'm based in Huntington Beach, but I'm all over. Yesterday I was on site for a company in San Diego. I'm in Irvine about 2 to 3 times a week. And so kind of wherever the wind takes me. But
awesome.
Easy to find. I'm the only one, which is awesome.
All right. Cool.
All right.
Thanks, Dr. Dena.
Anytime.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Gabe.